Out of jealousy, an innocent maiden was sent to an early grave. Her days, cut short. Was it truly tradition, or something far darker? Why can't her spirit rest? Her blood is crying. Will she ever find peace? In Africa, our elders say, innocent blood never sleeps. It cries, it cries.
We must remember the wisdom of those who came before us.
Welcome to Ife Ancestral Tales. This is The Innocent Blood.
Long ago, in a village hidden between tall forests and winding rivers, there lived two maidens. Both were beautiful, but their hearts were not the same. The first maiden, Adana, was known for her kindness. She was the type who would help widows fetch water, give food to hungry children, and sit beside the sick until they found strength again. Her beauty was not only on her face, but also in her heart. The second maiden, Nena, was beautiful too, but inside her heart burned jealousy like fire. She could not stand the way people praised Adana. She could not bear the way mothers prayed for their daughters to grow up like her. And then came the prince. The prince's eyes fell upon Adana one market day. He admired not just her beauty, but the way she bent down to lift a crying child, the way she spoke with respect to elders, the way her laughter carried like music. From that moment, whispers filled the village. The prince is watching Adana. The prince is choosing her. Nena's heart grew darker. At night, she wept bitterly to her parents. She cried like one whose life was being stolen. Her mother tried to comfort her, but her father was not an ordinary man. He was the native doctor of the village, a man feared by all, for it was said that even the spirits obeyed his voice. Nena's tears became poison in his heart. Why should my daughter be shamed? He asked himself. Why should another girl steal her destiny? One moonless night, he called Nena close. Together they planned something dreadful. He mixed herbs, powders, and charms. He walked to the village stream, the only source of water for the people. There, he poured his dark medicine into the flowing water. By morning, the first cries rose. Children who drank from the stream fell sick. Women collapsed by their cooking fires. Men coughed and staggered. Before sunset, death visited 3 homes. The wailing of the village shook the air. Mothers tore their wrappers. Fathers beat their chests. They gathered at the palace gates, crying to the king, "Save us! Our water has turned to death. The gods are angry." The king, a man of wisdom and compassion, stood before them. His heart was heavy as he listened to the cries. He raised his staff and declared, "Do not fear, my people. I will consult the gods. I will find the truth. No evil shall consume this land." But while the king's words gave a little comfort, in the shadows the native doctor and his daughter smiled. For their plan was not yet finished. The poison in the stream was only the beginning. Darkness was rising, and the gods themselves had begun to watch. Night fell upon the village, but peace did not come. The sickness from the poisoned stream had not ended. Yet the native doctor and his daughter were not satisfied. When the moon was hidden behind clouds, they crept into the forest. There they caught goats and chickens, cutting their throats so their blood ran hot and dark. They carried the bowls of blood to the stream and poured it into the flowing water. The blood mixed with the water, and the river groaned as if it carried a curse. But that was not all. The native doctor brought out herbs that no man dared to touch, leaves that turned red when pounded, powders that twisted the color of anything they touched. He threw them into the water, and before their eyes, the whole stream turned crimson, like a river of blood. By dawn, women who came to fetch water screamed. The stream was no longer clear. It ran red as though 1,000 throats had been cut into it. Fear seized the village. Mothers held their children close. Elders shook their heads. Men whispered, "The gods are angry. The gods are punishing us." Panic spread like fire. No one dared to drink. No one dared to wash. The stream, the lifeblood of the village, had turned into a river of death. It was then that the native doctor stood before the people, his staff in his hand, his voice deep like thunder. He declared, "The gods are angry. Someone has broken the ancient law. Someone has gone to the sacred stream on a forbidden day. Someone has fetched water and even caught fish when it was a taboo to do so." The crowd gasped. Whispers filled the air. Fear became suspicion. And then, the native doctor's finger pointed. He pointed at Adana, the same Adana whose kindness shone like light, whose laughter was like music, whose beauty had captured the prince's heart. "It is her," the native doctor roared. "She has defiled the sacred stream. Only her blood can cleanse this land. Only her sacrifice will cool the anger of the gods." The people trembled. Some believed him. Some shook their heads in disbelief. The king rose from his throne, his face dark with anger. "Enough," he thundered. "Never, since the time of our ancestors, have we offered human blood to the gods. The gods forbid such evil. The gods are not wicked. It is men who are wicked. No innocent girl shall die in this land while I sit on this throne." His words were strong, but fear is stronger than reason. And fear had already taken root in the hearts of the people. The cries of sick children, the sight of the blood-red stream, the weight of superstition, all these clouded their judgment. The native doctor's voice rose above the crowd once more, commanding, controlling, twisting their hearts with terror. And slowly, whispers turned into shouts. Shouts turned into demands. The people began to cry, "Sacrifice her! Sacrifice her! Let the gods have peace." The king's voice was drowned. His staff of authority shook in his hand, but even he could feel the power of fear turning against him. And so, the innocent maiden, Adana, was condemned. But what followed next, no one in the village could endure. The day came when Adana, the innocent maiden, was dragged before the people. Her cries pierced the air, but the voices of fear were louder. The native doctor stood tall, his staff raised, his eyes burning with pride. She was tied, her tears running down her face like streams of sorrow. The king begged, he pleaded, but the crowd had chosen fear over truth. And so, before the gods and men, Adana's blood was spilled upon the earth. Her lifeblood was gathered, her body laid as sacrifice, and with chants that shook the forest, the native doctor performed a ritual forbidden by the ancestors. That night, the village did not sleep, for as darkness covered the land, a voice rose with the wind, a wailing voice, a voice that seemed to come from every corner of the village, yet from nowhere at all. It was the voice of the maiden. "Vengeance! Vengeance! Vengeance!" Children awoke screaming, crying without end. Mothers held them close, but their cries only grew louder. Old men and women whispered in fear, their voices shaking. The spirit of the girl is not at rest. The land has been defiled. Then the signs began. The river, once poisoned and red, now swelled and overflowed its banks, flooding farmlands. Animals refused to drink. Goats bleated in hunger. Cows ran from the water as though they had seen a shadow of death. Crops withered in the fields. The yam barns grew empty. The air itself carried sorrow. Every night when darkness fell, the crying returned. The wailing of a young maiden's spirit swept through the huts, circling the palace, rattling the doors. Vengeance, vengeance, vengeance. The king, though innocent of her death, felt guilt burning in his soul. Each night, his dreams were haunted. He saw Adana standing before him, her eyes filled with blood, her voice whispering, "You could have saved me, but you did not." He woke drenched in sweat, his staff of authority shaking in his hands. He turned to the ancestors for guidance. He poured libations. He offered cola. He prayed with trembling hands. But the ancestors were silent. The calabash of palm wine remained untouched. The cola refused to break. The shrine gave no answer. The gods had turned their faces away. The village began to unravel. Friends turned against one another. Families quarreled. The once united people were now filled with fear and suspicion. Every cough, every cry, every shadow in the night was blamed on the crying spirit. And still, every night, the wailing continued. Vengeance, vengeance, vengeance. The blood of the innocent was not sleeping, and the punishment of the guilty had only just begun. The punishment of the guilty had only just begun.
The wailing of the innocent did not cease. Each night it grew louder, each night it tore deeper into the hearts of the people. Until one evening, the skies themselves darkened. Lightning split the heavens. Thunder roared like angry drums of the gods. And the land trembled, for the gods had risen in anger. The first to be struck was the native doctor. The once feared man whose words bent the village to his will now lay in his hut, broken. His skin was covered in sores that refused to heal. His staff of power slipped from his hand. He could no longer stand, no longer speak with the voice of authority. His body stank of decay, and flies buzzed around him like a man already dead. His wife, who once boasted of her husband's strength, now staggered through the market like a shadow. She became a drunk, clutching calabashes of palm wine, her eyes empty, her laughter mad. The people who once feared her now mocked her, calling her cursed. And Nina, the jealous maiden, the beauty whose envy had poisoned her heart. She was tormented day and night. Wherever she turned, she saw Adana's face, eyes filled with blood, lips whispering vengeance. Her nights were screams, her days were madness. She clawed her own hair, she tore her own clothes. She was no longer the maiden the prince once glanced at, but a ghost trapped in living flesh. Even the king was not spared. Though he had stood against the sacrifice, the weight of guilt crushed him. His people turned against him, whispering that he was weak, that he could not protect them. His authority slipped away, like sand in the wind. The staff of kingship in his hands felt heavy, useless, powerless. The village itself began to rot. Hunger spread. The rivers overflowed, then dried. The earth cracked. The ancestors, who once blessed the land, turned their backs. The gods themselves were silent, but not for long. For on the seventh night, when the crying spirit wailed louder than ever before, the ground split open, and a figure rose from the earth. She was clothed in light and shadow. Her eyes burned like fire. In her hand was a sword of judgment. She was the goddess of justice, the mother of truth, the voice of the innocent. Her voice thundered across the land. Innocent blood never sleeps. It cries. It cries until justice is done. This land is stained, and the guilty must pay. The people fell on their faces, trembling. The guilty tried to flee, but there was no escape. The native doctor screamed, but his voice was swallowed by the earth. His wife fell into darkness, her calabash of wine shattering in her hands. Nina clawed at her eyes, begging for mercy, but the goddess turned her gaze upon her, and her cries were silenced forever. The palace shook. The king dropped his staff and wept like a child, for though he lived, his throne was empty, his authority gone. And when the wrath had ended, silence covered the land. The crying voice was gone. The stream flowed clear once again. The air became calm. But the lesson remained, carved forever into the hearts of the people. Innocent blood never sleeps. The village learned with fear and trembling, when the innocent are wronged, their blood will rise, their spirit will cry, and the gods will answer. Not in whispers, but in a roar that shakes the earth. Beware, for innocent blood never sleeps. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and ring the bell, so the next tale finds you, before the drums do. And share this story, so the wisdom of the ancestors travels far. This is Ife Ancestral Tales. Till next time, stay guided. Be blessed.